She thought the chauffeur owned the mansion. Until the real owner walked through the front door. The first warning arrived as a folded note tucked beneath the windshield wiper of an old black sedan. Tell your boss to stop pretending she's somebody important. Nathan Carter unfolded the paper twice before quietly slipping it into his jacket pocket. The insult itself didn't bother him. What bothered him was knowing exactly who had written it. Across the street, a silver luxury SUV rolled away from the curb. In the passenger seat, a young woman laughed as she glanced back toward him through oversized sunglasses. Nathan sighed. This had gone far enough. He climbed behind the wheel and drove through the gates of Ashwood Manor, a peaceful lakeside estate hidden behind towering oak trees. To most visitors, Nathan was simply the household driver. Very few people knew that he had spent the last 12 years managing almost every detail of the estate whenever its owner traveled for business. From coordinating staff schedules to overseeing security, Nathan handled responsibilities far beyond driving. The property belonged to Evelyn Brooks, the founder of one of the nation's most respected architecture firms. Despite her wealth, Evelyn disliked showing off. She preferred quiet dinners to expensive parties, practical cars over flashy sports models, and often reminded her employees that true success never needed an audience. It was one of the reasons Nathan respected her so deeply. Unfortunately, not everyone shared those values. 3 months earlier, Marcus Hale joined the household staff as a weekend chauffeur. He was charismatic, well-dressed, and confident enough to make an excellent first impression. Nathan welcomed him warmly. Every house has its own routines, Nathan explained during Marcus's first day. Learn them well, and everything becomes easy. Marcus smiled politely. I appreciate the advice. At first, everything seemed normal. Then, little details began to stand out. Marcus spent an unusual amount of time taking selfies beside the collection of luxury vehicles stored inside the estate's private garage. Whenever deliveries arrived, he'd casually pose near expensive artwork or stand beneath the grand entrance while pretending to answer important business calls. Nathan assumed Marcus simply enjoyed social media. He thought nothing more of it. Until one Saturday afternoon, Marcus arrived with his girlfriend, Vanessa. She carried herself with effortless confidence, dressed head to toe in designer labels, and speaking as though every room already belonged to her. Since Evelyn was attending meetings downtown, Marcus offered Vanessa a private tour of the mansion. Nathan intercepted them near the entrance to the estate's historic wine cellar. I'm sorry, he said politely. That section isn't open to visitors. Marcus laughed. Relax, Nathan. He wrapped an arm around Vanessa's shoulders. She'll probably own this place one day anyway. Vanessa smiled proudly. Nathan forced a polite smile, though something about Marcus's tone unsettled him. It didn't sound like a joke. Over the following weeks, Vanessa began appearing more frequently. Each visit, her confidence grew. She criticized the gardeners for planting the wrong flowers. She complained that the dining room decorations looked outdated. She even instructed the housekeeping staff to rearrange furniture inside rooms she had no authority to enter. Nathan finally stepped in. I'm afraid only Ms. Brooks approves changes inside the house. Vanessa barely acknowledged him. You work for Marcus, she replied. Soon enough, you'll be working for me. Nathan stared at her in disbelief. Marcus quickly laughed and changed the subject, but Nathan had already realized the truth. Marcus hadn't exaggerated his lifestyle. He had convinced Vanessa that the mansion, the cars, the business, and everyone working there belonged to him. Nathan considered informing Evelyn immediately. Instead, he decided to wait. Extraordinary lies rarely survive for long. Eventually, they collapse beneath their own weight. Marcus, however, seemed determined to make the fall as spectacular as possible. Friday afternoon brought unexpected news. Evelyn called the staff together before leaving for the airport. I'll be in Switzerland for 5 days, she announced. We've reached the final stage of negotiations for a new headquarters project. Nathan, you're in charge until I return. Nathan nodded. As always. Marcus stood quietly near the back of the room, pretending not to listen. But Nathan noticed the brief smile that crossed his face the moment Evelyn's car disappeared through the front gates. Within minutes, Marcus pulled out his phone. "Everything's clear," he whispered. Nathan couldn't hear the entire conversation, but he caught enough to know trouble was coming. That evening, unfamiliar luxury cars began lining the long driveway leading to the mansion. One after another, sports cars, luxury SUVs, even a vintage convertible. By sunset, music echoed through the gardens. Nathan walked toward the front entrance and froze. Dozens of strangers wandered through the estate, as though it were a private resort. Guests carried champagne through rooms filled with priceless artwork. Some posed for photographs beside antique sculptures. Others leaned against rare collector cars parked inside the garage. A pair of influencers had already begun live streaming from the marble staircase. Nathan found Marcus standing confidently beside the fireplace, greeting guests with a drink in his hand. "You need to stop this," Nathan said quietly. Marcus smirked. "I don't remember asking for your opinion. This isn't your house. It is tonight." Nathan folded his arms. "You're making a mistake." Marcus stepped closer until only inches separated them. "The only mistake around here," he said with a grin, "is that people still think you're important." Several guests laughed. Vanessa approached carrying a crystal glass. "Marcus," she said loudly, making sure everyone nearby could hear, "why do you keep someone with such a terrible attitude?" Marcus shrugged dramatically. "Loyal employees are hard to replace." Nathan remained perfectly calm. He reached into his pocket and tapped a single button on his phone. The voice recorder began running silently. Marcus continued speaking. "I built everything you see here." He gestured proudly toward the towering windows overlooking the lake. The company, the estate, the collection of cars, it all came from years of hard work. Vanessa smiled admiringly. "I always knew you were extraordinary." Nathan asked one simple question. "So, every employee here works for you?" Marcus laughed. "Every single one." Nathan nodded. "And Miss Brooks?" Marcus barely hesitated. "She's just a consultant." Several guests murmured in amazement. Nathan ended the recording. It contained everything he needed. Without another word, he stepped outside and sent the audio file to Evelyn. His message was short. "You need to hear this." Only a minute later, his phone vibrated. Evelyn had listened to the recording immediately. Her reply consisted of just 6 words. "Delay them. I'm coming home tonight." Nathan smiled for the first time all evening. Marcus believed Evelyn's flight wouldn't return for another 3 days. What Marcus didn't know was that severe storms over Europe had forced dozens of international flights to cancel before departure. Evelyn had never left the country. She was already on her way back. Inside, the party grew louder. Music shook the walls. Guests wandered freely into private offices and family rooms that had never been open to visitors. One man nearly dropped a century-old porcelain vase while trying to take a selfie. Another guest sat behind Evelyn's antique writing desk, pretending to sign million-dollar contracts. Nathan quietly instructed the security team not to intervene. "Record everything," he told them. "No confrontations unless someone's in danger." Every hallway camera remained active. Every conversation was being archived. Every act of vandalism was captured from multiple angles. Marcus, meanwhile, felt invincible. Standing on the grand staircase, he clinked his glass with a spoon to get everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced proudly, "I'd like to thank you all for celebrating another successful year for my company." Applause echoed through the hall. Vanessa wrapped her arm around him. "I have an announcement, too." The room fell silent. She raised her glass. "Marcus and I have decided that next month we'll begin renovating the estate. The decor feels dated." More applause followed. Nathan looked toward the front doors. Headlights swept across the circular driveway. Right on schedule, the evening was about to change forever.